15 because I was so excited about what's transpiring at this convention. Any of you identify with that, right? Did you get up at 15? I gotta tell you, when I woke up, there was two people that I was thinking about. Caesar and Kevin. And so, wow, I couldn't be more excited for Caesar. I'm telling you, Caesar and I go out to dinner with him in early January when we were out I took my brother out to the Rose Bowl. And Caesar, we were there in LA, and I called Caesar and said, hey, I know it's a weekend, but can we catch up, have dinner? And I tell you what, you all know this, but and I've seen this in him since I first met him. How many years ago was that, Caesar? How many years have you been here now? 9 years. From the moment, as he said, he started distributor service until today. I told Chelsea when I got back, I've said this several times, Chelsea knows about Caesar, but I said, that guy, his heart, he bleeds Neo Life. We're sitting there talking over dinner, and he's talking about how he would never go anywhere. This is his home. This is his passion. He believes in distributors, and you just see his heart beat for Neo Life. And I was thinking this morning that we gotta all help him find a wife whose heart beats for Neo Life. Because Caesar told me, he said when he meets a woman, he tells her, you know what, if you marry me, you're marrying Neo Life. Because I'm all in. Is that okay, Caesar? All these ladies are gonna help you out now. But we have a little bit of housekeeping here. Earlier when I was recognizing our convention incentive winners, there was a slide that we missed. So I'm going to ask as I call out your names if you'll please stand and remain standing until I finish calling out these names. Cameron Weedle, please stand. David and Marcy Williams, please stand. Melanie and Robert Wickham, please stand. Larry and Cheryl Waits, please stand. And all of these did an incredible job at winning cash, stepping up, building their businesses to be here at convention. Job well done. Congratulations from all of us. Also wanted to mention how thankful I am, and all of us are, for you saw Kevin and Caesar up here earlier. Kevin, for the incredible work that he does, and Caesar mentioned it, and I just want to add on top of that because I already wanted to do that. But thank him for he is the face for all of us. And as a distributor, since the age of 18, I know how important that job is, and so do you. Because oftentimes, he and his team are the first face that our distributors see of Neo Life. And we were just talking the other day, the first day I got in here, about that very thing. And he was talking about his passion to make sure that distributor services always gets it right and making sure that we provide excellence. So, it's exciting now that I'm on board with Neo Life to be partners with these two young guys who are passionate and believe Neo Life. How about the convention in Newport? How many of you are committed to being at the convention in Newport? Raise your hands. Did anybody not raise their hand? If anybody's not committed, raise your hand. I was going to say, can we get the team to score them out? No. How would you like an incentive, a special, for next year's convention? Yes? No? Yes? All right. Listen, what if all of us, you all raise your hand, you're committed to coming back here next year? That's a commitment. It's an investment in your future. Let me tell you something. I would not be here if it were not for convention. My upline was incredible, my parents were incredible, but I'm going to tell you, I would not be here. Not only would I not have been a distributor for 16 years, because I remember a particular convention that I barely went to. I was discouraged, I was feeling low, I was thinking, everyone else can do this, maybe this isn't meant for me. I can share the products, use the products, but maybe I can't do this. And then I saw people on stage at that convention, and I left with a completely different attitude than I entered. And so, when I call you and I encourage you to come to convention, I encourage your team, it's because I know personally what convention can do for us. I also know I would not be working with Neo Life as your VP of Sales if it were not for being at last year's convention. You know, I was a state legislator and finishing out my term, and I almost didn't come because I felt an obligation to make sure I was doing my job there. But I am a citizen legislator. I went to the speaker and I said, I just hate missing a day. He said, go with your wife. You're a citizen legislator. You're excused for the day. And I came, and you know what? How would I have known how my life would change? So convention is absolutely necessary. I'm glad you all raised your hand. You're committed. So I'm going to ask you to do this. One more time. Are you committed to coming to convention? Raise your hand. One hand, just one hand. Okay? Now, are you committed to bring at least one person with you to convention next year? Raise 2 hands. Is that a yes? Are we all in? Okay, here's your deal. So I went back there to the back, and I talked to Anjana and Caesar, and we talked, and by the way, my job and my pocketbook may be on the line, so you guys don't follow through with this, okay? So I said, so are y'all with me? Yeah. I said, what if we gave them a special as soon as they end? Because we got to make the commitment today. It's like when I was running for office and I'd ask someone, I'd say, can I ask for your vote? That was so important, I learned. Because if you make that commitment today, there will be trials, there will be setbacks. I'm going to share a few of those in my journey. They will come, right? But you got to make that commitment today that, Lord willing, you will be here next year. And so we're going to have an early bird. You know what it costs for each of you all to be here, what the company invests? A lot. It's around $500 for each of your seats. Okay? But you know what? It's worth every penny. I know that. I just told you that, right? My story. And so, but here's what the price won't always be as cheap as it's been, but here's what they're willing to do. $100 early bird. If you'll go out there as soon as we end today, sign up, make that commitment that you're going to be at convention. And furthermore, how many of you guys are willing to do that? Go ahead and make a commitment. You got to lead by example. Y'all are leaders. You cannot teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you won't go. How are you going to tell other people to do things that you're not willing to make that commitment, that sacrifice today? So I'm going to challenge, I hope all the forums are gone, that every one of us rises up to the occasion and commits, I will be here next year. Are you with me on that? Yes? All in. All in. All in. And guess what else? You want another incentive? So $100 early bird. $100 early bird if you do it today. And then guess what else? How would you like to have premier seating for those of you who sign up today? We're going to go ahead and set up some front rows. You guys are leaders. You're leading by example. We're going to do that. And how about one more? How about we do a drawing out of those who sign up today? We pull out 5. We'll do 5 drawings, and you'll win a free convention registration for a new distributor on your team. How do you like that? Yeah? Yes? Okay, I'm going to ask you one more time. I'm going to ask a commitment here. How many of you raise your hand if you're going to convention next year and you're going to sign up today and lead the way? All right. Give yourself a big round of applause. You know, I was thinking about, wow, my time's already going quickly. I was thinking about what was I going to, pray the Lord give me wisdom and how I could be an encouragement to you guys today as we begin to wrap up. And, I had this speech that I thought, oh, this will be motivational and all. But then I realized that Lord laid it on my heart, and a couple of others talked with me, and realized that what I needed to share was a little bit of my story, a little bit of my challenges, some of the roadblocks that I experienced. Because you know what? Just like Chelsea shared with you guys that read Wow this morning. How many of y'all are ladies there? Wow, huh? Thank y'all for all that you do. 80% of this industry is women. You guys, have a caring heart, nurturing. You guys, y'all are the future. And we're okay with this men will retire as you guys go to 5 Diamond, right? No, but as Chelsea shared with her story, that she wouldn't have been up here. Was she amazing yesterday? She ran every one of them up here. But I wouldn't be here on stage. As a matter of fact, my first time, I remember when I was supposed to show, I had scheduled to do a presentation. I prayed when I woke up that morning that nobody would show up. Like, I'll be obedient, God, nobody would show up. I looked in I cracked the door open, I saw there were people in there, and I ran to the bathroom. And I splashed water in my face, and just, hoping I'd get locked in the bathroom and have an excuse not to come out. The first meeting that I did, Ernest Yoder, where are you, Ernest? The first meeting that I did, half the people, not half, but several were asleep in the back. So when you see me ask you to raise your hand and to repeat after me, that's to make sure you're still awake. Because my worst fear is that after you fall asleep. So, but when I started at 18 years old, I knew the products worked. I saw that the business worked. And I had a dream and I had a vision. I had a vision that one day, if I were to bless enough people, that I could have freedom in my life to go where God called me to go and not have to worry about a paycheck, to follow my heart. You know, Paul told Timothy, he said, hey, if you're a servant, in other words, if you're an employee, serve your master with all diligence. Love him with all your heart, your mind, your soul, and your strength, right? Get it all. But he said, if you could be free, get free, so you can use your freedom to be about the master's use, to be about your call, your vision that God has in your life. So when I started at 18, though, I had a challenge. I barely scraped together. It was actually $99 back then. $99. Now, you didn't get any free products. You didn't get any samples. None of that. But I scraped it together. And my parents, you know, they're the reason why my brothers and I have the drive that we have. They said, we'll teach you how to succeed, as I said yesterday, but we're not going to give it to you. So the other problem I had was they always signed everybody up. Have you ever tried to recruit somebody and they said, well, you know, I don't know anybody? You ever heard that before? Is it just me? You've heard that? Well, that was very real. That's why when I look at you in the eye, or I look at your prospects in the eye, when I come to an experience meeting and I say, you can do this, you don't understand what kind of conviction that's coming from. Because when I started, I had buck teeth. They stuck out like this, no kidding. Had a big old giant gap between the teeth where I could stick at least one spoon. And there wasn't so funny back then, y'all. As a matter of fact, that first meeting I did with Ernest, we were doing some presentation I did with my teeth and development, how nutrition would help skeletal formations and all. And I'm sitting going like this, mouth shut, you know. And I saw some of them were going, you know, and I was like utterly embarrassed. But I said, you know, I wasn't born on Neil Life, so excuse the fact that my teeth are, you know. But let me tell you, when I tell you too that this business can give you everything you want and more, I was hoping I could get braces one day. And you know what I went, but you know, it's gonna take a little while, because I had to sow to reap, right? And braces last, you know, if any of you have checked, are not cheap. So I started meeting with orthodontists. And I met with one, and he said, what? You want me to give you like $5,000 of braces, and you're going to give me $50, $100 of vitamins each month? But I kept on going, and I finally found an orthodontist who's still my customer today that was willing to partner with me. So at 19, I went and got braces and expander and everything else. So this right here, that's my Neil Life smile. I'm almost about to get emotional today. When I started, I just knew that if I were willing to embrace my fears, I used to always say step out of my comfort zone, do the opposite of what I felt like doing, and I had a lot of fears. I mean, again, going back to not knowing anyone, you know, I was blessed to be homeschooled, and we traveled a lot with Neil Life. That was a great experience, but the problem was I didn't have a journal to go through with classmates. You know, I didn't know who to go to, except, does anybody have a mailman? Do you have a mailman? Yes? All right, you got to start on your business. You know, your prospects, your new distributors you sign up this year, they got to start. So I went to the mailman. I went to the UPS driver. You know, by the way, the UPS driver was new, because the last one, the one before everybody got started on the product, Mom and Dad got to him. And there was a truck up the road that was for sale. It was an S10 with a souped up 350 in it. And, you know, back then I thought I needed a hot rod and all that was cool. And I still like fast cars. But, so I went up there and I looked at the car and I was trying to, this would be my dream and build my business, maybe buy this. But, you know, I thought, well, I'll start with him. So I said, hey, you know, you take supplements? And, I'm not interested, you know, I'm a redneck and proud of it, and I'll never take a pill or a vitamin. Well, I gave him an audio, I followed up, nope, not interested. And then, what do you know, he actually called me. It doesn't happen very often, because really the law of averages is what David quoted. But he did, Lord knew I needed a little encouragement. He called me a couple weeks later, he said, you know those vitamins? He said, you know, maybe my wife needs them. My wife, you know, she's lazy and doesn't get around to anything. I was like, well, you know, whatever you say, but okay. So I went over there and I got her started. And that ended up helping get me to the director. Now, there's going to be, you got to have a clear vision of where you're going. You got to have, be committed to it. But there's going to be setbacks, and there's going to be challenges along the way. Guess what happened to him? He had a car accident, nearly got killed. So he wasn't building a business anymore. He just kind of fell back to just using the products. And so I had to continue to push on and kind of rebuild that and get my business back up, stable. And, I'll never forget going to convention, going to my first team leadership school, director leadership school. And I remember them sharing with me, because I felt like I had to impress everybody with what I knew. Because I was only 18 years old, and I've got buck teeth, and, I've got acne and all that. And I'm thinking, thankfully it wasn't as bad as it, wasn't too bad, but still, the buck teeth, they got distracted from any acne anyhow. But, but they, I felt like, they just kind of pat me. I really felt this way. I still remember it. I kind of felt like, you're a boy, little young man, and they got, you're going to be a good little salesman one day. I was like, no, I don't want to be a salesperson. That was never my dream. But I was passionate about sharing something I believed in. And I tried to convince them of all the facts. I thought I needed to know more and be like Dr. Lawson. And, knowledge is good. Don't continue to learn, continue to grow. But I went to leadership school, and Jerry and I were sharing stories last night, and I was telling him, thank you so much for the investment that you make in these things. And that's why I'm so passionate about you coming to convention and bringing one person with you next year, doubling this and tripling it, because you never know what you're going to hear. And see, my parents had shared this with me, but I had to have somebody else share it. And that's why we do the conference calls. Because you never know what you tell them. You may say it, and you'll probably do a much more eloquent job than me, but myself or one of the guests on my Monday or Tuesday night calls will say the exact same thing that you've been saying, and they'll call you up and say, why didn't you tell me that? You ever had that happen? And my first temptation is to be like, I told you that, idiot, 10 times. Of course, I don't say that. I'm like, praise the Lord, somebody else shared it. And so, but I remember coming back from the leadership school, and the first time it just kind of hit me that just be true to who I was. I love people. I might be shy sometimes, but I love people and I care about them. And so I can just get to know them and ask them questions, what is your name? Start with that, and not be worried about what was I going to say next, but just ask those questions, and that would lead to, a conversation, what do you do for work? And then if they were, even worth bringing into the business or working with, hopefully they'd respond, well, what do you do? And I can naturally lead into that. And, I'm always looking for that need, that want or don't want that somebody has in their life, that I can fill. And you heard a lot about that. Cameron talked about relationships and how important that is. So, but, it hit me on the way home, so I came home and I had so much more fun with the business. Because all of a sudden I wasn't trying to impress them or convince them. I was just trying to get to know them and care about them. So the business started becoming enjoyable and fun. But the second area I want to tell you, so I had a clear vision that helped propel me over the setbacks and the challenges, because there were plenty that came along in the process. And anything worthwhile, the greater the sacrifice, the greater the reward, right? And that's the second thing I want to talk to you about for a moment is sacrifice. I asked you how many of you were all in. And we started with that video. Was that not encouraging to see? That our founder, Jerry, all the way down, they're all in. They're committed. And I'm going to tell you, even though I've seen that and respected them so much, before I thought about moving across country and joining corporate and all, we had several meetings. And, I wanted to find out, are they truly all in? And let me tell you, I'm convinced. And this was the biggest decision of my life, but they are all in. They're determined to help do everything necessary to help you succeed. We're going, and this is not to be ugly, but we're going to go with or without you. And so my challenge is, what I mean is this ship is going. When you go talk to a distributor or a prospect, you need to share it with them, give them the opportunity, because we're going with or without them. And so my challenge to you, are you all in? Are you all focused? And I want to share a personal story from my life about sacrifice. And I'll start with, going to convention, giving up going vacation with my friends to say the Florida is all planned, but I couldn't afford both. And so I said, guys, y'all go have fun. I'm going to convention. And I slept on the floor. When I did my first booths, I slept in one of the booths I did. I remember I just didn't have enough cash to do it all, so I slept in the car.
Mom and Dad were nice. They said, we'll loan you some money for the boot, but you're going to pay us back. And I hated owing anything. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to sleep in the back of my car. Now, pretty quickly, I decided that I'd stay in the cheapest hotel before I sleep in my car because that was a tough day. You know, I'll never forget when I met Ernest and Farron. Ernest, which led to meeting Farron, my first directors in the business. You know, talk about doing the opposite of what you feel like and sacrifice. The sickest I've ever been in my life. The sickest I've ever been in my life was when I was 19. I was doing a booth for the second year in a row. I drove several hundred miles down this, all by myself down to South Georgia and do this farm expo. You know, I was trying to do whatever I could find to meet people. And I woke up the second night, this 3-day show. I woke up just, I don't even know what I had, food poisoning, I suppose, but I was crawling under the bed, over the bed. It just, horrible, sweating and just as sick as could possibly be. This Moultrie, the world descends upon this tiny little town of Moultrie. If you don't get in at like 6 a.m., you know, you're going to be walking miles, literally parking way out in some cornfield. You know, ask Ernest and Farron, right, I'll tell you. But anyway, so I get in there late, I drag myself in, and I'll never forget, I run to the corner of it, to the door to throw up outside. And then I put a tissue, whatever, and I go back to my booth and I'm asking, are you tired, feeling tired? And then I could just, my stomach was just churning and all, I could hardly stand up straight. So I go sit, in the grass outside the doors to the building. And as soon as somebody would come, I'd jump up and run in and try to act all normal. And you know what? Ernest came by that second year. And Ernest, he got all on to me. He didn't even know I'm sick. Of course, I couldn't let on until years later, until I knew he was in. But, he like getting on to me. Why didn't you follow up with me all year? I've been listening to this tape all year, and you've never cared to call. Thinking, you're lucky I'm standing here. And he told me if I hadn't been there, he wouldn't have been in. So, do the opposite of what you feel like. Challenges will come. And, some of you have heard these stories, but, hopefully it encourages you to share it with your team. It's not by accident that I'm standing here. It's by doing the opposite of what I felt like doing. It wasn't because I was natural. It wasn't because I was gifted. In fact, my favorite verse is that he's chosen the foolish things of this world to confound the things which are wise, the base things, the things which are despised, that he might bring to naught the very things that are, that no flesh would glory in his presence, right? And so, it's through our weaknesses that we're found strong, that his strength is revealed through us, right? I want to talk about sacrifice a little bit further, though, because when Kendra and Jerry were kind to talk to me about, hey, we'd love you to be involved with the company and going into the next 50 years, I said, yeah, but I'm where I'm, at the moment, I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. At public service, that was an amazing miracle. I built a business to where all of a sudden at 30, that was my goal. I could do whatever God called me to do. And we traveled the world. We were buying real estate. And we were, and then all of a sudden I had the calling to run for office. I didn't know I was going to win. But I applied the same principles I learned through this business. So I look at these young people, 28% of this room are brand new distributors. Give them a big hand. If this is your first time, I haven't seen your moment. I lost my thought where I was going there. Has that ever happened to you? Never? More saying, live answer. But anyway, when they invited me to talk, that's right, I was talking about this business will develop the skills and talents to be able to do whatever God calls you to do. Okay? Because we ended up stepping into a campaign. People said you'll never win unless you run a negative campaign. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. Apparently, if that's the case, then we're supposed to go to people's doors and meet them, but I guarantee you one thing, whatever I do, I'm going to love y'all all my heart, my mind, my soul, and strength. So that guy better work his tail off, because I'm going to outwork him 10 to 1. And he may be a multi-millionaire, but I'm going to outraise him too, by God's grace. And we did. And that insulted him, but anyhow, we did a press release, and we outraised both of our opponents combined. He's like, how'd you do that? I took the principles I learned in this business. But one of the things I did is I made a firm commitment. When I sent that press release out, it went in the paper that I was running for office, and I took that first dollar, you signed your first distributor, your first promoter, you better be committed. You better be all in. You owe that to them, right? So I was going to give it all, and we ended up winning 70-30 by a landslide, and we ran a clean, positive campaign. Praise the Lord. But my point with that is, but you got to be willing to make sacrifices. So when Jerry and Kendra were kind of encouraged me to come on board, they said, well, you know what, we understand you have that calling right now. Okay, that's all right. I said, yeah, and I've been living off my New Life business. That's my passion. I love it. I'll always maintain and take care of it. But I built this real estate brokerage with my brothers because at the time they said they didn't want to do this. You ever have brothers, your family members say that? Some family members on Chelsea's side it's taken 20 years. But they're on board now and they're sitting here. Praise the Lord, right? Don't give up. It's so much fun when you're working with family, right? It just takes it to a whole new level, so don't give up. But, so at first I thought, well, okay, all right, I'll be involved part-time and help out, And then I felt convicted because I talked to you guys about it and teach my team. Raise your hand, and every one of you better raise it if you're a leader. You're sitting here, you're a leader, right? You got to lead by example. You cannot teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you won't go. And so I don't know what the sacrifice is for you, but you have to make sacrifices. You can't do everything in life. And I was thinking, if I really believe I see the passion, talk about vision. I sat down with Kendra. And I was thinking, she's young, she's sharp and all, but I want to see, is she all in here? Oh my goodness, her vision, her passion. When Karina Gonzalez yesterday was talking about doing it for others, that your drive, your cause can't be about yourself. When I sat down and asked her questions and she just spoke from the heart, I was like, wow, I can see the next 50 years, the foundation that Jerry has laid. That through God's grace and your hard work and all of us together, and I love how Kendra says it's not about any one person, it's about everyone together. The best is yet to come. But seeing that vision, that commitment that she had, if she just said, yeah, Josh, I love this, but I'm working on a apparel line on the side and doing that, I would have no interest. But I perceived that she was committed to this, and the cause wasn't about herself, that she had something much greater than that motivated her. And that led to Chelsea and I saying, wow, you know what? God's going to do something huge here. I think this company's going to go to $1 billion and beyond. I mean, why not? We've got the best products in the world. Why not us? Why not? I've always felt like we shouldn't, because other countries were a household name. Why not? We're going to do it by God's grace. The commitment's there, Jerry did me, and that's going to happen. But if you're going to be on this journey, you've got to make some sacrifices. And so going back to my sacrifice, at first I thought, you know what, so I'm going to be involved with it. Then I realized, I can't look you in the eye and say this is a great opportunity. I gotta ask myself, do I believe it? Because I'm going to make some, I can't do it all. Right? And I'm not asking you to give up your job. I'm asking you, it may be 4 or 5 hours. It may be unplugging the cable. It may be, and I don't care who you are or what level you are, if we're going to take this to the next level, we're going to have to make some sacrifices and commitments. And it was through that Chelsea and I realized that God was asking us for everything. That if I was serious about this, and I wanted to be able to be a servant to you guys, and that's what I say I am now. Now we're working corporate. I'm your shoe shiner or whatever. I'm here to serve you, right? If we're going to do this, I got to lead by example and be all in. So that's why we sent the press release out, so we're not running it, and everybody's not running for re-election. If you're unopposed, why would you do that? You're rising leadership, why would you do that? Because you know what? There's a greater calling. You and I can go out there and touch people's lives like me. Buck T, growing in my confidence, but, needing to grow in it, Every day I'm growing. But to think that we can touch people's lives like that, you've already heard all the product stories of saving lives. You're just giving our bodies nutrition it needs so you don't repair itself, right? And the fact that we can raise leaders. This world is in a shortage of leaders, right? That's what this business is about, is raising leaders. You're equipping and you're training them and teaching them and coming alongside of them and pouring yourself into them. And John Maxwell, one of my heroes, he said, the definition of a leader isn't how far he goes, but how he propels others to go well beyond what he would ever think, dare, or hope. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what I'm also asking the IPT that I look up to. Looking at Delmar right now and Shirley, and I can just keep on going, that I idolize and respect it. I'm asking you guys to prayerfully consider digging in a little bit deeper for a couple more years. Not because the company deserves it or you deserve to be retired. You deserve to just go ahead and sail off in the sunset and continue cashing those checks. You deserve that. But you know what? You've got a young leadership team that's committed to serving you and helping to take this company in the next 50 years. And you know what? We need youth and energy and vitality, but we also need wisdom. You know, we need that discernment that you have, the experience that you have, right? We need all of it together. And if we will dig in deep, make some sacrifices, make some commitments, we will. This is going to happen. I mean, look at Shad Sharp in the back with all the people he brought, you know. Walked away $15,000 a month, less than 2 years, building another business. And he said, you know what? Wow, he wasn't interested at all. He just tried the products reluctantly. And it worked for him, right? You're going to hear more of his story in the breakout sessions. But look where he is today, right? Leaders, it's going to happen with or without us, but we need together. We can go further and stronger. It's not about, as Kendra, I love how she said, it's not about any one of us. It's about all of us together. I see my red light is blinking. I can't believe the time is wrapping up. It's over. You know, Philippians, as Paul says, I'm not perfect, and I haven't attained to all that God has for me or all that I can become. But he says, but I tell you this one thing. I'm going to press forward and onward to the calling. You have a calling. You have a purpose. You are here for such a time. Say that again. You are here for such. You are here for such. Do you believe that?
Yes.
And let's go out there and let's change the world. Let's go out there and raise leaders. And I want to end with this quote from Theodore Roosevelt. He said, we see across the dangers of the great future, and we rejoice as a giant refreshed. The great victories are yet to be won. The greatest deeds are yet to be done. Through you guys. Let's go out and make it 20